go. Tēnā tātou katoa ka mihi. So welcome everyone and many greetings to you. I am here with the most wonderful Morgana Astrologer. And we are going to be talking about New Earth leadership. But before I start, I'm going to hand over to my beautiful colleague to open a little bit about her and to start us off with an invoking of more wider or spirit.
Oh, thank you so much, my beautiful soul. So my name is Morgana Sophia. Some may know me as Lexi. I am a priestess astrologer. I've trained in Glastonbury, and it's such an honour to be here with you today. It's a really magical place to be. In fact, we're talking across the planet, literally, today. So, like I said, I've trained in Glastonbury as a priestess astrologer. I've previously had another life in corporate world, but moved on to my spiritual path about 12 years ago, and then 2020 came along and I jacked in my career and followed the call of spirit. Became a healer. I was already a healer, did a lot of healing work, a lot of life coaching work, which moved me into the world of astrology. So there you go. And
welcome, welcome, welcome. And
thank you, Mela.
Morgana, did I say that right? Morgana.
Morgana.
Sophia, Morgana Sophia Astrologer. That's a beautiful name. You're going to kick us off with a invocation of, or a prayer, or karakia, as we'd say, to start the divinity of this shared session. Handing to you.
Thank you. So I'm going to call in Ariane, the goddess of the stars, if you'd like to join me. From the womb of the great mother I was born. I am starlight in physical form, lady of the land, the star, the skies and sea. I breathe in you, you breathe in me. I am sunlight wrapped in skin. The universe is without and within. Goddess, expand my vision. Awaken my light. Let me see with your owl sight. Let me become your vessel, pure, clear and true. Lady, I surrender into you. And lady, as we come into this beautiful space, hooking across the ocean, come into us this today. Bring your words, share the wisdom of the cosmos, and surround us in your beautiful silvery starlight. Blessed be.
It's really beautiful.
Thank you. That's actually the prayer that we use in Goddess Temple to open up the space to Ariane. It's yeah, really, really powerful.
It is really powerful. And if you are listening now, or you are listening to the replay, you might want to rewind and play that again. Close your eyes more deeply and tune into it, because that the resonance of karakia are an ancient ritual. And we were just talking before about the importance of us understanding the divine which is within us. And there's nothing like an invoking to bring it straight into every cell of your body. But you are going to tell us a little bit more about your passion, your moimoia, your vision for heart-led rebellion or leadership. Is it both?
It's a bit of both these days. So I very much come down the ascension pathway. So while I'm an astrologer as well, part of my spiritual awakening has been very much about ascension. It's been this move from 3D to 5D, from ego to love, from old earth to new earth, however you want to couch it. And as I've kind of moved along this path, I've realized the most important thing, it's not the label that we give it. It's not the box in which we decide that we're going to be put in. It's not, as well, I'm afraid, it's not the unicorns, it's not the sparkly bits, it's actually everything that's going on. And we have to really drop into our hearts and realize that as we move forward, as we start to create our new earth communities, as we start to really step into our powerful leadership. And for me, this powerful leadership is going to be very female driven as well. We've had a huge rise of the divine feminine, but divine masculine is kind of lagging behind a little bit at the moment, but these women are the ones who are driving it forward because they truly understand the power and the potency of the heart. Because however much we have been suppressed by the patriarchy, we've always had our heart. We've always had the love for our partners, the love for our children, the love for our animals. No one can really squash that out of us. They can squash everything out of us, but not that innate spark within our hearts. So as we move into the new earth, we are going to see some real radical revolutionaries. And these are the women and men who are really going to drop into the heart, and they're going to lead differently. And this means literally at some point throwing out the rule book. It means getting rid of all the programming that we've had, that we have to lead in a particular way. You have to be like the boys to lead. I was in the corporate world, so in order for me to lead and be seen as a leader, it was the 3-inch heels, it was the red lipstick, it was that kind of slightly ball breaking attitude that has to die, it has to go away. And we have to be able to drop into our hearts and choose to live differently, also choose to act on that intuition, which is going to take us to a very different place. So it's really exciting. I've called this very much the kind of the heart-led rebels, the radical revolutionaries who are going to revolt by saying no, but also by saying I love you as well.
That's really potent. And I think that brings us a little bit. I'd love you to explain with for you, what New Earth leadership means to you, because I must say that I find it a little bit of a challenge in the way that it is phrased. And it's, almost like a spaceship departs to the new planet or the new Earth because there's so much crud here. And that doesn't resonate for me, but tell me for you, what does New Earth leadership mean?
Well, let's look at New Earth first. And for me, New Earth is actually going back to the ways that we used to live. So it's going back into the cyclical nature of Earth. So living as you do within your culture, your society, living as we do here in the UK, living within our kind of goddess pagan worshipping culture. It's a reversion back to that. But with the nuances and the delights and mod cons of new technology, which will really help us move forward. But
With our purple EVs. No, I'm joking. With our purple EVs, which are actually chewing up all the power on the planet. No. But
no EVs. But how I see it is that New Earth isn't going to be a new physical Earth. We're not going to, hop off the planet. 2012 came along. There was a temptation that, everything's going to go wrong. We'll just step off the planet. Not going to happen. More and more souls became incarnated after that. 2020, let's go and step off the planet. No, again, that isn't what we're going to do. We are, for me, going to see a little bit of a split in society. And I've seen this for a long time. Started seeing this in about 2018, where if you can imagine two railway lines and they're running parallel, and suddenly they just start to diverge off. They just start to split. And that for me is the way to explain New Earth. There are the people who are choosing to be spiritually awake, spiritually aware. They're choosing to be intuitive. They're choosing to live with the cycles of nature. Now, they might not even regard themselves as awake and spiritual, but their soul has made their choice that they're moving into this very beautiful kind of symbiotic relationship with Gaia, with Earth. And then there's the people who I like to call keeping up with the Joneses. I don't know if you've got that phrase in New Zealand, but it's, I have to have the EV, I have to have all the iPads, I have to have the new Mercedes on, I have to have the biggest TV. It's keeping up. It's the materialism. It's the everything that makes you feel a little bit ick when you look at kind of reality TV. If you ever watching these new Real Housewives of wherever, it's that's like ick feeling that you get of like, really? How many Louboutins? But I've seen these cracks diverging for such a long time, and now it's almost as if you could hop between them, but the chasm now is so big that actually we've made the choice to move forward. So we are a planet of duality, and I still think we're going to be a planet of duality, but we're going to have new communities springing up. And much as we'd like a utopian community where everything, we click our fingers and suddenly everything arrives, it isn't going to happen. I really see you and I, and maybe, I don't have children, but the next generation are the transitional generation. They're the generation that are holding this shift in energy and vibration and setting up new communities and these new communities can be physical, but it all can be online. I mean, think of the beautiful online community we've created over the past few weeks it's a global community. And we're all leading from our hearts. So these are the kind of things that I see popping up. It isn't about, them and us, because we're going to live together. It's a vibration state. So we're going to have people who choose to live in a very dense, very materialistic state, and we're going to have people who choose to live in a more light space, let's call it that way. So they may not regard themselves as spiritual, but they're definitely on the pathway to evolving, where they may be on their own personal ascension journey as well as our planetary journey as well. So it's two railway tracks that split. Now the divide's so big that actually we're bringing in the new at the same time as the old is collapsing and moving. So it's we're in transitional times, and we will be for a generation.
That as the turn of the ages. So I was going to ask you, because I want to bring some astrology into this, because I really do believe that having, when you spend a long time understanding what goes on above, it really does help you to understand some of the shifts. And I always think particularly of the turning of the pole stars, and we've hit hard Polaris, and we're shifting over to Vega. And that is a 13,000 year turn, or 26,000 years all up. So we're coming through that cycle. And for some of us, that's really hard to even get your head around that. Except if you live in New Zealand, where we totally live, polarity, duality is like going on the whole time. We always have to cross-reference. And if we don't, we get an earthquake. Well, Aquarius shakes us up. So it is, I think this whole turn of the ages is very important to understand from an astrological perspective, as much as making sense of the physical and the universal and how to blend them. So do you want to talk a little bit about this turn of the ages from the Pisces, from Pisces through to Aquarius, and what this means from how you bring this into your own life and how you help others?
So to understand the turn of the ages, let's just go back a little bit past the age of Pisces into when the turn of the great ages started. So if you want huge amounts of information on this, Barbara Hand-Clow has written some amazing books. But essentially, at some point around 10,000 years ago, there was a cataclysm. Now, that could be the fall of Atlantis. It could be a nuclear war. It could be whatever you need it to be. It could be Noah's flood. It doesn't matter. But if we work on the premise that something cataclysmic happened sometime in the middle of the time of Leo, Earth had a vertical axis. This cataclysm happened and it began to tilt. It's about 23 degrees and it got a wobble. So now, from going kind of this beautiful, verdant, lush kind of Earth, we then had seasons and cycles and things that we're not quite experienced before. And we've had the ancient star watchers who, in my tradition, were always the women who watched the stars. It was never the men. They were the priestesses who oracle the fate of nations. And they noticed that at every spring equinox, the signs would start to change. So we had about 1,000 years of the sun rising in Leo at the spring equinox, and it began to change. And they're like, oh, what's going on here? Then it started to rise in the age of, got to go backwards here, Cancer, then into Gemini, then into Taurus, then into Aries, then into Pisces. And these each kind of turn of the ages is about 2,600 years ish, give or take. I mean, this is kind of condensing 10,000 years of history into about 2 minutes. But if we take the premise that this turns about every 2,600 years, turn of the age of Pisces was at this exact moment when Yeshua, Jesus, I call him Yeshua, and Magdalene were born. And Yeshua and Magdalene were the archetypal examples of what the highest form of the age of Pisces was going to be. So the age of Pisces was all about unconditional love. And if you ever read your Bible or religious text, you will understand that the underlying premise that can't be driven out of the Bible was unconditional love. And whatever happens, however we've cast Mary Magdalene into kind of the scrap heap, the fallen woman, she never was. She was equal. And they came in to express this highest form of the age of Pisces. Then man took over. The rise of the patriarchy, the end of goddess worship, the Romans arrived, and they started to control the masses through religion. That's the lowest kind of expression of the age of Pisces, control and dominance by the church. So we've had 2,000 years, over 2,000 years now, of this really interesting energy of unconditional love, of Yeshua, of Magdalene, of the Gnostic texts, control. And we're coming to the next turn of ages when we come into the age of Aquarius. So some people say it's already started. Some people say it's yet to come. I'm sort of, it's already here. The two ages overlap. So if you look at the vernal equinox,
as you said, it's a 2.5, 2006 year, which again relates back to those pole stars. Because if you divide, that amount, you get a similar breakdown of each of the great turns. But you're describing this, so it doesn't have to be a specific, it started on this date, does it? Because there is a merge of the flavors, right?
Absolutely not. Because
just like any cycle.
If we wait, exactly, any cycle, these are all overlapping cycles. So if you look at the vernal equinox, spring equinox, sun is rising right at the tail end of the constellation of Pisces, just about to tip into Aquarius. It's not quite there yet, but we've had this nugget of information about the age of Aquarius for quite a while. So if you have ever watched the musical Hair, this is the turning of the age of Aquarius. That was the kind of forerunner of getting us into that method of, things are starting to change. But it's very much overlapping, because what we're seeing now is the age of Pisces, excuse me, really falling. We're seeing, particularly in the UK, the fall of the dominance of the church, both Catholic Church and the Church of England. We're seeing patriarchal institutions die, and we're seeing new institutions take their place. Now, Aquarius is a really, really beautiful energy. So we're seeing this dying off as the age of Aquarius is starting to rise. And for me, the age of Aquarius is all about unity. So we've gone from unconditional love, but we're now moving into community and unity, oneness, being individual, yet within the homogenized collective. So this is where we're aiming for. This is the new earth that we're aiming for. But we all know the shadow side of Aquarius. For me, the major shadow side is the technocracy. Are we going to become a slave to our tablets, to our phones?
Are we going to become? Just listeners, are we going to become, or are we already a slave?
I would perhaps suggest that most people have, but there's still time. There's still time to put your phone in the drawer, darling.
And you have yet to have children yet? Is that correct?
Not our children, love, no. Too old for that now.
Having had three of them, actually very lucky to not have had iPhones. They didn't have iPhones till they were in their late, but they were the treasured items. So that's a really good point. We do have to bring that up, because how many smartphones do you reckon we've got on the planet?
Probably more than people, if I'm really honest. But are we going to let them control our lives, or are we going to pop them in a drawer, use them only when we need them for, like, phone calls? And are we going to step into this new high vibration? It's these are, I'm really chewing it down to some kind of bullet points, but these are big decisions we have to make. Are we going to be heart-led? Are we going to create something that we want? Are we going to use technology for good? So we might see new healthcare coming up. I've been reading a lot about lasers coming in and kind of frequency devices coming in. Are we going to follow that kind of technology? Or are we just going to sit like this? I mean, I could just sit on here now and just, go into the scroll hole.
Do you know how many times people swipe their phones a day?
Far too many. She says, thinking about her phone usage today.
No, it's a really great way to understand your own relationship, because I mean, I think that, and I'm being a little bit you know, I'm teasing you a little bit with some of the themes, but they're really important. And in our country, we're ruled by Aquarius, which is why we have such big earthquakes, like, because we get shakes, right? And I always describe, following the traditions that I do, the knowledge of the collective of Seth, which is the collective Abraham. You know, there's many names that come from this universal wisdom. And that is the Aquarian energy is to actually own your own power. Because if you don't, you put your shitty energy into the earth, and when she gets enough of it, she just like throws you. And if you think about that yourself, if you continue to pack all this energy into your own body, if you continue to run the same unevolved, you know, 10,000 swipes on, you know, or whatever, you're going to get a little health shake. You'll get, as my son said, he reached down to grab something from his computer after spending the whole day stuck there like that, and his neck twitched. He goes, "Mum, what was
we
that?"
call that tech neck.
I know, but you know, these are not uncommon. These are not uncommon challenges that every single one of us have. It's like, you know, we're not wearing our blue light glasses, are we?
No, in fact, I've got a big ring light coming up. I'm like, oh.
Exactly. Your poor
It's
eyes.
true though. So I'm really blessed to live with a very, very nice young man who is 20 years older than me. And he remembers not having a phone, and as do I. You know, going out on a Friday night, meeting your friends in a pub at say 8 o'clock, and that's what you did. Either you turned up or you didn't turn up. You know, there's none of this texting of, oh my God, I've got to iron a shirt, you know, I've got to do this and walk the dog. And it's like, either turn up or don't turn up. We've lost the simplicity. Everything's too complex at the moment, and not helped by moving into Gemini season, which is all in the head.
So, Luke, talk a little bit more about how people can, because when was the last time? Well, I mean, I know, but I'm asking you, with your, when was the last time that we had this age of Aquarius, and what were the themes? Because you're, in terms of talking with, we'll bring it back to heart-led rebellion. What can we take from where we once were? Not so much with the whole alternative, but we did have some really strong placements in Aquarius, and when around the time there was some significant rebellions. What can we take from those times to bring into this managing the themes of Aquarius?
So if we look at Pluto as a planet, I always still regard her as Pluto. We call her Plutonia in goddess astrology. Every time she has moved into Aquarius, so she's got 248-year cycle, there has been some form of revolution and rebellion. So my personal favorite one, which takes us really far back, is Boudica's revolution against the Romans.
Say that again slowly.
Boudica's revolution against the Romans. So Boudica. Let me talk about Boudica.
I don't know this.
She was the queen of the Iceni, which was a tribe in Celtic Britain. And her husband was ruling. The Romans came in, they had quite a cordial relationship. Her husband, the king, died. She assumed queenship. She became the queen of the Iceni and refused to bow down to Roman rule. This resulted in her, I think she had 3 daughters, all being raped by the Romans. She then rose and sacked London. So she literally razed London to the ground. And she finally finished at St. Albans, a massive battle where she almost defeated the Roman invasion, but not quite. So that is the first kind of record of Pluto being in Aquarius. This really bloody, horrible, foul rebellion.
Did she get burnt at the stake too?
No, she was killed in battle, literally, and kind of tossed to one side. So, but again, start of the turn of the age of Pisces. You know, women being crushed. So we've had that. Other times when we've had Pluto in Aquarius, a couple of my other personal favourites was the Reformation of the Church of England. So Henry VIII decided he didn't want to be married, so he set up the Church of England. That was incredibly bloody, because for years then we had both Protestants and Catholics burning each other, killing each other. It was deeply unpleasant in the UK. Then we had
the UK. I mean, we had some pretty horrible
across the whole of
Yeah.
Whole of Europe as well, yeah.
Well, and down under, I mean, some of the brutal wars that occurred, the Polynesian Wars, and certainly down here in Aotearoa, like there was some real brutality between, it's actually
Yeah.
not that far back for many whakapapa lines, just the wars between the different tribes was huge in,
Yeah.
cutting at the preserving of the heads, the mokai. It was actually, this was like, these are real themes that one would, they're
Huge.
worldwide,
Yeah.
they're planet-wide, they're not just isolated to place. And
That's
again,
sorry, yeah, and with me with my kind of English history. But the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, so the last time what, 248 years ago, we had
mm,
the French Revolution. We had
mm,
the American
mm,
War of Independence, both which were pretty unpleasant. American Declaration of Independence, but also
mm,
the Industrial Revolution as well, which took us from the country, took us from living with Gaia, living within natural cycles, to
into
living in
cities.
cities.
Yeah.
That is huge. So every time we've had Pluto in Aquarius, we've had very bloody, very turbulent times.
Mm,
And look at the world today. We now have a choice. Pluto's back
mm,
in Aquarius.
mm,
How are we going to rebel? We've got
mm.
all sorts of horrendous things happening all over the world.
Yeah,
So,
we have.
when do we stop those? When do we actually, as a collective, say, that's it, no
Mm,
more? And it's not pie in the sky because it can be done. I've seen it done
mm.
in London, actually, against, I can talk about that, against the territorial support group. They baton charged a group, whole group sat down.
Mm,
So powerful because it just
mm,
went to the patriarchy, and society went, no, we're not playing with you anymore.
mm,
So we have this real choice, and if
mm.
we look on the world stage, it could blow up at any minute. Let's be really honest. But actually, it's got to come from the roots up this time. It can't come from the top down. It's got to come from the roots up. We
Do
have to
you
really.
think, do you think though that because of the actual general flavor of Aquarius, that it's much more likely to be a technological uh assault or and
Well, by stealth.
yeah, and I'm interested in this
You and I
because
know. I mean, um, here in the UK, no one will buy a Huawei phone because we all have the suspicion that that could be controlled by another country.
who
Um,
are we?
exactly, who else? But this technocracy and control is already
Mm,
starting, isn't it? I mean, we've
yeah.
got wars to distract us, to create the feeding zone. And as those are escalating, as our eyes are all on this war, we're then being controlled by the mobile phone in our pocket, which is now telling us what to do. Because here in the UK, we had, I
Mm,
think it was last year, an emergency alert on our phone, and we had to have our phones on that time. Well, mine was in the microwave that day, just resting. But people are like, oh my God, did I get the alert? Did I not get the alert? That's how it's going to happen. It's almost, it would be a bloodless revolution, but through control, through stealth tactics this time. Pockets of resistance again. Who
I'm
knows? I
interested
mean, we
in
can't predict the fortune. We're not
no, but
fortune tellers, but
I'm super interested in this because I work with a lot of innovators. Again, it's a real New Zealand Aquarius, a massive amount of inventors. And one of them was just telling me, we were having a conversation about meditation actually, because I have the only way that I really unplug from the energy is in those moments of complete and utter silence, when I'm focused on silence, when I'm defragging my brain. And he is an AI inventor. Some of the stuff that he does with AI and drones and is incredibly next level. But he was saying that actually the real challenge for what's going to happen in the future is people living in cities, from the amount of radiation and stimulation, just in terms of their brains not being able to cope. And I think what we saw with an onrush of energy coming into the Gemini thought realm and the incidence of more conditions, and we're going to go somewhere with this. Like we've talked a lot of doom and gloom, but the call is to find ways to defrag, to kind of like step out, to have, as you say, this heart-led rebellion. So I'm going to get you to share some of your, because you have a great method as to how you can come into your heart, defrag away from the noise, don't you? Would you like?
I do. Would you like to try it with me?
I'd love to.
Okay,
And
so and I love the phrase defrag the brain. So needed.
well, and if you're with us, this is a real good time if you want to hop away and get a glass of water. And we're going to slow down so that we can let you get sorted, because this is really powerful. And I'm going to
So take a moment just to kind of, you know, if you've got your mobile phone with you, maybe just switch it off, put it on plane mode, put it outside, you know, put the cat outside the room, you know, check the dog's not going to howl, but really just start to slow down, because the second we start to slow down, we start to really listen. And that's what we need to do. So just let me know when you're ready, my love.
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay. So joining us when you can. So if you're in safe for you to do so, you're going to have your feet on the floor. You're going to gently close your eyes, just have your hands in your lap. And I'm going to talk you through a method called Caleb. And Caleb is really about connecting to your heart and listening, and then taking that empowered action. So Caleb, as a boy's name, actually means wholehearted. So what I want you to do is this exercise with the whole of your heart, to really allow yourself to experience it. And just remember, it's an exercise, it's a practice, and you don't have to get it right the first time. You're just going to enjoy yourself. It's just taking a couple of deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. If you need to sigh the breath away, do so. And just let your shoulders relax. And if you can, possibly just let your jaw relax as well. And then drop all your awareness into your heart. So you can feel yourself breathing into your heart and out from your heart. Just becoming aware of your heart. And as you drop your awareness there, you might now just seem to find that your heart is a spark of light. With every inhale, you're making that spark brighter. And with every exhale, you're feeling that spark just getting bigger. And just breathing into that heart space. This is your first part. You're just creating that beautiful connection. You might be given a visual representation or a feeling. It might just feel really new to you. But just have the intention that you're connecting to your heart. And then we're going to allow. And you're just going to spend a moment just allowing that connection to build. Nothing to do but just allow. So we've connected to our hearts, we've allowed that connection to really, really build. And now we're going to listen to our heart. So if you're struggling at all with that connection, just bring your hands onto your heart. But if you feel strong in that connection, you're going to start listening to the advice of your heart. So it may be for you, you might just want to say, hello heart, I'm here, I'm listening to you. Might just be a whispered hello. or your heart might just be ready to speak. Just really listen. Listen to the words, to the phrases, to the colours. And don't worry if your heart doesn't say anything. It might just be enjoying this connection for the first time ever. Just take a moment to listen. So just holding that word, that phrase, that guidance, that picture in your mind. Just checking in now, asking your heart, is there any action you want me to take? Anything you need me to do today? What empowered action can I take for you? Just see what arises. And just take a moment. Thank your heart for the connection. The words or phrases that it gave you when you were listening. Perhaps the nugget of empowered action. Again, don't worry if you've got nothing, just thank your heart. And then just set a firm promise that you are going to take that empowered action today. You are going to trust your heart. And you're going to thank it for its guidance and say that you will return. You're going to create this as a daily, daily, hourly practice. And if your hands on your chest, just thanking your heart, just saying your goodbyes with that promise, you're going to take that empowered action. Before you come back, I want you to believe. I want you to see that empowered action done. I want you to trust and believe that your heart has your highest good at the core of everything that it tells you. When you're ready, storing everything in your mind, just start to come back gently, deepening your breathing, wiggling your fingers and toes. So if you have a journal to hand or a piece of paper, you might just want to write down what your heart said. And then my challenge for you is, after you finish watching us, go and take that action. Just coming back gently whenever you're ready.
It's a beautiful practice.
It was a channel practice that came one morning. I was sat at my altar and I just got this K-level. I was like, oh. And then it kind of morphed into this practice. So I use that every day at my altar. And the more and more we use it, you can actually get to the point where you just touch your heart and it's instant connection, instant guidance. And that's what we need to be doing all the time, acting from our heart, not from our head.
If you're a Leo, it's a little easier. Because you know, like it is a very big thing for a Leo that yeah. But I think the pause is what is part of the heart and mind connection. And you know, it was really interesting because as you were saying it, I didn't feel any need to have a conversation, but other than just to push a bit of the energy up and down, I like to push it into the back of my brainstem. And again, it's purely just the amount of information that is like racing around. So that was a good reminder to like keep the channel between the brain, the third eye and the heart. Up
And the
and
heart
down,
and the
up
heart
and
going,
down.
and the more that we
Mm,
practice as well, it opens up our higher heart as well, so we're
mm,
open to the wisdom of, and I like to think it's our heart, but I also like to think our soul resides in our heart as well. So
mm,
actually we're really kind of up leveling our practice, and
mm,
there are times when that doesn't work. It doesn't mean it
mm,
hasn't worked, it's just your heart's like, oh, thank God you've listened to me, right, okay. you know, take it slowly today. So yeah, make it your practice, make it,
mm,
the thing that you do every day, the thing that you do every hour before any big decision. Do it.
mm. And that leads us on to this last kind of segment of really of your knowledge and your sharings is really this practice of Caleb that you can use to step into leadership when you're dealing with these things that we have, when you're confronted with your own new earth challenge. Do you want to talk a little bit more about how other ways that you can use this your practice of Caleb, of heart, listening to the heart and stepping into the heart? I know
Yeah, I
you
mean, there are times. Sorry.
I know you've got many suggestions, and I just wanted to say I love that you added practice. Like this is not a stop go, right? That's it. You failed. It's
No, it's a constantly evolving practice. If you think of the relationship with your heart, it's the same as going
mm,
and finding a new friend or a new partner, isn't it? That you have to start from scratch. You start with, oh, hi, what's your name? You might, where you live, how old are you, do you have kids, do you not have kids? You start on that real foundation level, and each
mm,
time you practice, you're just building and building and building that connection, because we haven't listened to our hearts for so long. We haven't listened, have we? We've just been like, oh yeah, no, head says this is what I'm going to do. So it is practice.
mm,
And practice makes perfect. Who knows? I don't think I'm perfect yet. I definitely, but it's practice. It's developing a really, really strong relationship. And in developing that strong relationship, that messaging starts to become instant, and it starts to overtake your head. When your head goes, no, 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 and your heart's like, yes, go on, go on. It's that really
mm,
different flip of energy. And you really start to see it in leadership as well, when people are using their hearts, where they're truly listening to their communities and then acting for the greatest good rather than the down authority. So there are loads of ways you can use this in your practical everyday life.
mm,
Simple as you're stood at the bus stop, just breathe. Just
mm,
breathe like you do. Create that silence, create that moment of presence. We don't have to react all the time straight away. So yes, there are going to be times in emergency where we have to act. The adrenaline takes over. We just do what we have to do. But when we're confronted with a situation, we don't have to act until we feel that we're in the right place. So this has happened to me. Someone's been screaming in my face. They've been shouting at it. And I've been like, now, I'm an Aries, Sag rising, Sag moon. I could really go for you now. But actually, can I, almost like you're switching off
mm,
and just drop into my heart, what are they actually saying to me? Is that their shit or is it my shit? And you're just in that place of, okay. And then you respond. And the way to respond is to be super calm as
mm,
well, to really just speak your truth, no matter how much your throat chakra starts to tighten up and you get that pounding heart. It's just, really standing tall, standing in your power, standing in your sovereignty, and saying, this is my truth. And it's so difficult. And I'm not going to lie to you, because society is not always the nicest, but you can do that. Caleb, you can take it anywhere. It's a bit like prayer, anytime, any place, anywhere, you can practice all
mm,
the time. And
mm,
when you're in kind of confronting and challenging situations as well, for me, the other tool that I really use is to speak to Goddess and say, I
mm,
don't know what to do. I'm not sure what and how to react now. Please guide me
mm,
into that, because
mm,
I believe in the divine, however we see the divine. And that for me is the other things that I use of, okay, I'm in a place now where I want to listen to my heart, but I'm really not sure. I need that extra place of actually, what am I doing? Can I, have a little bit of confirmation? And for me, she always comes through. It's not always as we expect it to be, but it's always going to come through. So there's loads of things that we can do to kind of empower ourselves. There's another brilliant exercise I do as well, where if you were stood on the grass in the morning, having your hands up like this above your head and literally pulling down the energy from the stars can really help and really fire you up. It's if you do any magical, it's a little bit like the middle pillar where you're kind of going up your chakras, but you're pulling down from earth. That can be super, super powerful as well. And it's working out between you and your heart what works for you as well, because what works for me might need a little bit of tweak for you as well. So it's, yeah, they're the things that I would do, is always charge my energy up, get grounded. That's the other thing, really super, super important at the moment. Speak to your guides, to your angels, to goddess. Use Caleb. But most of all, trust. Trust the plan, trust your truth, and go forward really fearlessly. You've done nothing wrong, is the one thing I need to say. You're doing it all right all the time.
And a part of you knows this, even if you don't know it now.
There's a part of you, the future you, who is cheering you on because you had to make that decision at that point in time.
Yeah, there's a lot of wisdom that has come through from your journey into the goddess, and thank you for sharing so much of your wisdom. I just thought, seeing as we'd started with Pluto, that we needed to bring a love planet, just as a, like if you're going through this journey and you're wondering how you deal with all these masculine energies, what is a great way, where can we look to in our astrological guidance to find that loving energy?
Well, for me, it's Ari Anrod. Ari Anrod is the goddess of the stars. She sits in the castle of glass. She sits in the corona borealis, actually. I don't know if can you see that in New Zealand?
Yeah,
the northern crown. So she sits in the northern crown. She spins the web of fate. So for me, it's bringing in her energy to soften. But the great thing for me in goddess astrology is we feminize all the planets as well. So even we've got Mars and Pluto, the goddesses of war, the goddesses of kind of the occult mysteries, the dark goddesses of transformation. We see them as the face of duality as well. So for me, finding that love is also playing and acting with their rules as well. So, Saturn can be real harsh taskmaster. Saturnia, the crone goddess, she is the one who's been here since all of time. You lean into her, you understand her rules to find the love. But if we are in our charts, if we are really looking for the place where we want to be held, where we want to be softened, for me, there are two places. One is always Venus or Taurus in our charts, the two places, but also Libra as well, because Libra is very much about Aphrodite. It's all about Inanna as well, and Ishtar. So for me, they're the two places in our chart that I always look to for grounding, nurture, security, and balance as well. And that's where I look in my chart of, what's going on today? Where do I need the love? Where is Venus moving around in my chart? What lesson is she bringing through? But also, as we go into Libra season, what is it? What needs to be brought back into balance for my life as well? And on the silver wheel, we also assign goddesses to kind of each astrological sign as well. So at the moment, we're in Gemini. So we would assign Sarasvati. It's one of the Hindu goddesses, but also Bladioth as well. So she's made from Bladioth as a goddess is made out of flowers as a wife for the son of Arianrod. And then she betrays her husband and she's transformed into the Screech Owl. So throughout the whole of the silver wheel, Screech Owl, yeah. Yeah, squidge owl. So she's kind of the shapeshifter. She's kind of like the female Loki, essentially. But I looked the silver wheels, the goddesses of each of the
Mm,
astrological signs,
mm,
also the goddesses of the planets, to bring through the love, because it's always
mm,
there.
mm.
It's just sometimes it's tough love. And
Yeah.
that's how I work. And when we're reading charts as well, we never
Mm,
look that, oh my god, that looks horrible. It's like, okay, so goddess has shown you this, and she's offering you the gifts of that to
mm,
reap the harvest. So
mm,
it's a really different way. So even
mm,
with the harshest charts, I've got Saturn, Pluto, and Mars all in Scorpio. But
mm,
actually, there's a lot of love there, a lot of love to transform.
mm. That's beautiful. That really is. So, if people would like to learn some more about you, or you've got a book coming out, is that right?
I have
Do you want to keep?
the 21st of July, which would be our summer solstice, your
Wow.
winter solstice. Yes, it's called the Starfire Leaders of the Age of Aquarius. It's all about new Earth leadership.
Starfire leader.
Starfire
Stark.
of the Age of Star.
Starfire leaders of the age of Aquarius.
Indeed. Yeah. So this
I
is
love
all about how we act. So the book itself takes you to the Temple of Starfire. It's the
it.
whole journey through. It's an initiation through a temple,
Mm,
combined with a lot of New Earth leadership. We talk a lot about your North Node and the new archetypes of New Earth
mm,
for your
mm,
North Node. So
mhm,
different archetypes that people will never have seen before, because I've channeled them all.
mm.
Um, and then it takes you through heart-led leadership. It takes you through Caleb, like we've done before, but it takes you
Mm.
through a massive journey. So that's out on the 21st
21st of
of June.
July. When you say it's out, how are you sharing your beautiful offering of
So
Starfire leadership?
on the day, which is summer solstice, we will be in Glastonbury, having a little full moon in Capricorn solstice party. After that, it will be on my website, which is www.morganasophia.com, and will also be on Amazon as well. So
That is beautiful. And so your
all
website,
over Instagram as well.
okay, awesome. We'll be sharing it. We'll be sending out the love. But your website is the best. Is that the best place if people want to contact you for you do readings or you do teachings or
I I
both?
do I do a whole load of things. So often goddess birth chart readings. I do a lot of soul mentoring as well. So people who are new earth leaders who want that kind of, not a coach, they don't want anything to do with business, they want someone to hold that sacred space so they can
Mm,
explore, so they can download whatever's
mm,
going on for them. I do that as well, and a lot of I do healing as well, which is obviously in person and distance. So best place to find me actually is
mm.
Instagram.
Uh-huh.
So Morgana Sophia Astrologer is the best place to find me.
And we're going to have Morgana's links anyway below in some shape or form without the spam filters that Instagram is hitting us with. We will give you a direct way to contact her. And I actually was going to close, but I'm not going to because I this is your sacred space, and I really feel thank you so much, Morgana Sophia, astrologer, for the beauty of this particular session that you've given to people. And I hope people feel like I do, which is just really full of heart and love for the wisdom, the enormous wisdom that you have gathered through your earth journey here. So I'm going to hand back to you, my darling friend, to close because I truly believe that this is your moment and we are in the hands of the goddess. So please.
Thank you so much. If you'd like to join me just as we begin to close our sacred space, and just thanking everyone who's joined us today, our guides, our angels, our helpers, but most of all, thanking Ari Anrod, Lady, wrap us in your midnight blue cloak, take us to the stars, show us your mysteries. Thanking you that you have left the messages in the stars that we can interpret this time in this lifetime so that we can move into the age of Aquarius in the highest expression. Lady, surround us with your love. Lady, pour starlight on us. Let us be transformed. Let us be the children of the cosmos, starlight in physical form. And we ask for your blessing and ask if you can stay if you can, but go if you must. And take all the energy that we've created today in this beautiful space to wherever and to whomever it is needed in the world today. Lady, thank you for joining us. And everyone, thank you for being with us. Blessed be.
Amen.